What do you get when you mix Halo and Portal? Well, you get an awesome arena FPS called SplitGate, and man, what a game. Super simple, and yeah, maybe a little chaotic, but it was a blast to play. Unfortunately, due to factors like gamers needing a Battle Pass style grind, server issues for getting into matches, and some even leaving because of the Halo Infinite reveal trailer, yeah, that aged poorly. Coupled together with only 2 developers then halting development on this game and wanting to make a brand new game in Unreal Engine 5, SplitGate has all but been forgotten. That is until SplitGate 2 was confirmed to be the next project that they are working on. And this past weekend on February 28th up till March 2nd, we have all gained access to the first alpha. It is free over on Steam. Now, by the time you are seeing this, maybe it's not available right now, but keep an eye on it and you might be able to try it out for the next one. So the big question is it any good? Or does Splitgate die for nothing? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Town here with Direct Gaming. If you enjoy discussions on all the latest games or just gaming in general, then consider hitting that like and sub button, and maybe also join us over on our live streams every weekend where you can talk about anything when it comes to gaming. If you have any further comments on Splitgate 2 or anything within Splitgate, let us know in the comments below, or come join us on stream like I said before. All right, let's get started. Now, for those of you who have never played or even heard of Splitgate or Splitgate 2, it is exactly what you might have heard. Halo meets Portal, but in the best way possible. However, it is not a battle royale, it's not a hero shooter or anything like that. It is an arena-based game from the days of the original Halo, Unreal 4, and so on. And with the start of the alpha for Splitgate 2, I wanted to go over my initial impressions of the game, having absolutely loved the first game, while also recognizing that it had some issues and everything. I have high hopes for Splitgate 2. Though that does come with some worry, since this feels like I'm watching history repeat itself with another particular multiplayer game, but we'll get into that in just a second. I have absolutely no script here like I usually do for a lot of my videos, so I'm just going to start going from point to point, and we are going to jump straight into the good, the bad, and just simply everything in between. First thing I want to talk about is the performance, since it feels like it can be almost 50-50 that when a game releases, it's either a hot buggy mess or actually works out pretty great. And an alpha/beta is a good way to see what you're going to be getting for the full release. Yes, to all those who think, oh, it's just an alpha, they can fix everything, 9 times out of 10, whatever you see for the alpha and the beta, that is what you're going to be getting for the initial release of the game. That is, of course, unless the alpha and beta are like over a year apart from said release, but that rarely happens these days. So how does the game run and how's the performance for this game? Well, Splitgate ran pretty well on PC. It ran well on pretty much all the consoles that it was on. I mean, it was on the PS4 and the Xbox One back in the day. So yeah, it's going to run pretty well. And even though this is running on UE5, one of the craziest engines when it comes to performance, you know the games I'm talking about, this game runs pretty well. I was constantly hitting about 120 FPS, no problem. And it was running great. I will admit though that the little tutorial at the very beginning, maybe due to just the fact of whatever settings they have on, yeah, it was kind of stuttering and laggy there. But regardless, the moment I just went in, changed my settings up a bit, and jumped into my first match, felt really good. Now, obviously, this is not some big open world game or anything like that, and we're simply in arenas, but hey, regardless, it still ran very well. I didn't notice any stuttering or anything, and my system is not exactly a top tier system or anything like that. I have an i9-10900K, and I have a 3080 GPU, and no, it's not a TI or anything like that. So overall, it ran pretty well. I mean, I would hope it would, but you know, these days we never know what we're going to get with performance. So regardless, if the alpha is running this good, then yeah, the final release, whenever that happens sometime in 2025, assuming they don't push it back or anything like that, should work out pretty well. So obviously the performance was a positive, and what I want to continue to talk about in terms of the positive side of things is the gunplay. Now, this gunplay is not going to be as deep per se when it comes to certain things like physics, if you've played something like Battlefield or anything like that, but overall the gunplay still felt really good. Couple it together with using your portals to move around and everything. I mean, again, if you played the original Splitgate, you should know exactly what you're getting into, but it's actually surprisingly transferred over here pretty well. Now, obviously, this is an alpha. Some guns are going to be way more powerful than they might be anticipated. I mean, back in the day, we could no-scope people across the map through a portal and everything, so you're going to be seeing that here a little bit. But overall, the gunplay was working out pretty well. You had different things like shotguns, you had different things like carbines, auto rifles, snipers, pulse rifles, you name it, essentially. Heck, they even got the baseball bat here, although I will admit that lunge is ridiculous. We're talking Halo 2 sword days here. But overall, I'd say the gunplay still worked out pretty well for the most part. Now, I'm not exactly sure why, and again, this could just simply be a bug, it's an alpha and everything, but some of the perks that you can attach to some of your weapons, because there is some decent customization here. Not the best or anything by say, but it does get the job done. But one thing I did notice is that some of the perks for your weapon, as you use it, you simply unlock more perks like you'd expect, and the game would actually show you how it would affect your stats. Do you get more ammo? Do you get more recoil? Less recoil? You name it. But sometimes it would say that a stat was changing, and then I'd go into the game, or if I was playing with my friend Lemon, and all of a sudden the weapon was doing less damage or had a little bit more kick to its recoil when nothing had changed from beforehand. So I'm not sure if this is a bug or anything like that. Again, we've probably seen it in games beforehand where you're simply playing the game, you change something, and it says something has changed in the stats menu and everything, but it doesn't feel like anything has changed, or the vice versa. It says nothing is changing, and all of a sudden your recoil is kicking like a mule, and it's just going all over the place. We've seen bugs like this before, and again, like Battlefield, Halo, Call of Duty, you name it. So again, I'm not really sure to what weapons and what attachments and everything, so hopefully they're able to take a look at that. I'm not sure how big the team is and everything, but overall it still worked out pretty well for the gunplay. Next up that can kind of combine with gunplay a little bit is the movement. Movement is a big thing when it comes to any FPS. Whether you're someone who prefers the fast-paced movement of something like Apex Legends, or you prefer something that's more slower like the old Battlefield days or anything like that. Well, this game is definitely going to be very fast. Again, it's an arena shooter, and you're going to be zipping around, and if you get good enough, you can be zipping around the arena like no tomorrow. I do like the sliding. It actually works out pretty well, and if you combine that with using both of your portals, you can really, there is a big learning curve here when it comes to moving around. It can be as simple as you want to if you're not using your portals, and you're simply going around the arena like you'd expect any other FPS, but utilizing both your portals, your sliding, your movements, your jumping, and everything, it works out pretty well. I will say, however, though, the one thing I'm not the biggest fan of is the jetpack. And I'm not sure if this is, again, simply due to the alpha, or maybe because I haven't played the original SplitGate in a while, but the jump pack here just kind of feels weird. Like, it does its job. It's not a bad one per se, but in order to activate it, you have to double press your jump button. And there are some times where it either doesn't activate or it does, and the bar gets used up extremely fast that you see on the left side of your screen there. I'm not saying I want an infinite jetpack or anything like that, but sometimes it just seems a little inconsistent sometimes is all I'm going to say. So again, maybe it's a bug, I'm not really sure, but that's just simply what I saw when it comes to playing the alpha. All right, moving away from all of that stuff now, I got to talk about one of the biggest things in this game that I am just personally not a fan of, and I might go on a bit of a tangent here, so I'm apologizing in advance, but I need to talk about the maps. I'm not sure what it is. I was talking with my friend Lemon after we put about 2 to 3 hours into the alpha, and there is just something about some of the map designs that either doesn't work or they don't allow for a huge use of the actual gameplay mechanic that is the portals. And I kind of confirmed this when I went back and tried to find some SplitGate 1 gameplay on YouTube. Unfortunately, the SplitGate gameplay that I had from a few years ago, it got corrupted and I can't use it. So I have to use what you're seeing here on screen. But I'm not sure if it's simply due to maybe the different map layouts that they're not trying to bring the maps over from SplitGate 1, or these alpha ones are simply new ones and they are going to bring the SplitGate 1 maps over, so they have a ton of maps and everything. And this alpha is simply meant to test out the brand new maps. But these maps, they just really don't flow the greatest when trying to use your portals. It feels like there's a lot of surfaces that should have more abilities to activate your portals. If you don't know, you can't activate your portals on just simply any surface. You have to be looking for these type of surfaces right here. From SplitGate 1, it's the exact same thing. You have to be looking for these particular almost diagonal hexagon style surfaces, and that's where you can place your portals. And then obviously if you angle them at some distance or you're able to get a running head start, you can then zoom through the portal, shoot people, the whole 9 yards, right? But there's just something about the map layout with that particular gameplay mechanic in mind that just doesn't work out very well, especially when you get into something like the multi-team battles. This brand new mode where you have 8v8v8. So basically it's a 24-player map, but you have 3 teams in total, which FYI, can we please get some kind of colorblind mode to change in the options? It'd be really nice. But anyway, getting back on topic though, the map itself, there's only one map in the alpha right now, which is fine. You know, unfortunately, I wish there was more, but hey, it's an alpha, I get that. But the map itself, it's too big, I think, for what it's trying to do, because there is a lot of time where you are not either in combat, you're simply trying to move around from one side all the way to the other. And we had a full match. It wasn't like, you know, oh, there's only 2 people on this team and 3 people on this team. No. We had a full 24 players, and yet it was still just a lot of running around. Couple that together, kind of going back to what I was talking about with the portal and being able to place it in a lot of different areas in the original game, especially in this particular map, there was so much open space that I feel like they need to go back into this particular map, especially, and really look at where you're able to place portals and kind of the choke lanes and where players go. Because again, there were a lot of spots where it's like, okay, if I could have at least placed a portal here, got background cover, and then try to sneak or flank the guy or something like that. No, it's just a big, wide open space, and there's nothing you can do. And so if you're somebody with a more close quarters weapon or anything like that, then you're at a real big disadvantage. And you might be thinking, well, then just switch over to a different weapon and everything. And you can do that. But again, even with those long range weapons, even using something like the carbine or the pulse rifle, it's still pretty open, and I don't know, it wasn't playing very well. I'm not really sure what it is. So again, if you played the alpha or you play in a beta in the future or anything like that, let me know if I'm just going crazy or anything. But going back to even some of the basic more arena maps and everything, there's just something about the map design that's kind of generic and bland, I guess is the best way I can say it. Like there's nothing really unique about some of these maps or anything, whereas we did get to see some of that uniqueness from the original Splitgate. Now, yes, a lot of them took inspiration from something like Halo. I'm not going to deny that or anything, but they still had their own twist and cool turns on it and everything. Taking things like some of the surfaces to put portals up in the sky or way out in the distance and everything like that. Some of these maps don't have that. Some of them do, but not all of them. And it just, again, kind of goes back to the whole concept of trying to utilize your portals and everything, but there's not a lot of surface space to do that. So again, I'm not really sure if they're going to try to change anything with the maps or improve anything. I'm not sure how many people are working on the maps, but I feel like the maps are a big downgrade for me personally when it comes to the Splitgate 2 alpha. Moving on from that though, I want to talk about real quickly the modes and the rounds. They have plenty of modes in this game and everything, which is pretty nice. You have all of your typical arena stuff, team deathmatch, even you have some of your more competitive stuff. This game feels like it's really trying to be some kind of esports game half the time, and I'm like, I get why, especially with what happened after Splitgate 1, but I don't think they need to go full crazy esports modes for everything. Like, nice thing about Splitgate originally, it was just a fun game to play. And I get it, some people are always going to go back to the battle royales and everything like that, but if you just build upon what some might call the niche system that you have within this game, I think that could do well in the long run. And again, maybe if they just simply stuck to the normal Splitgate and not try to do Splitgate 2, maybe things would have turned out for the better. I'm not really sure. But regardless, while I like all the modes and more options and everything is always really good, two things I would personally change. One is the whole round system. It's 3 out of 5 essentially, even for something like Team Deathmatch. And the rounds are super short. I think their rounds need to be longer. Like, and when I say super short, I'm talking like less than 4 minutes and the score is only up to 20. With 4v4, getting to 20 kills first, that is super simple, and these matches end way too fast. So I think the whole round system thing needs to change. Just make one round much longer, and you'll be good to go. Make it 50 kills or whatever. I personally think that would be fine. The second thing I think they need to change is they need to take out some of the game modes from the basic arena playlist. They have this arena playlist that has all the game modes, basically, except for the big multi-team battle. But in that arena playlist, you have some of the more competitive playlist modes where you might see some of these games in something like Valorant or CSGO. And I hate to break it to the developers, 95% of players who are just simply playing the default playlist mode and don't even change it or don't even know how to change it, even though it's right there on the main screen, they don't know how to play these objective-based modes. And forcing people into it is not going to work out for you in the end. So I think you need to move those particular modes away. Keep team deathmatch, domination, capture the points, all that stuff, that's perfectly fine. But when you have a teammate like I did, where he had the detonator to go plant the bomb, we literally team wiped the other team, and all of us were saying, get onto the thing right in front of you and plant it, the guy just goes around looking for more kills. So you really need to change that, in my personal opinion. The other thing that I also want to talk about is the classes, the changeover, I should say. In the original Splitgate, it was simply pick your loadout, essentially. There were no heroes or anything like that, or characters with abilities or anything. In Splitgate 2, they go with a basic light, medium, and heavy class. Heavy class gets a portable shield. Medium class allows you to actually hack through walls a little bit. It's actually not as bad as it might sound. It's kind of niff, in my personal opinion. And then the light class basically gets a speed boost. And there's some other things you can also attach, like some more passive perks and everything. But overall, they went with a typical light, medium, and heavy class. And while I personally don't have a problem with that, because I actually love playing another game called The Finals, and they kind of have that same thing, in Splitgate 2, it's very, very generic. You get one unique item to use, and you have one passive. that kind of works out. So for example, with the medium class, you can simply heal up a little bit faster than the other two classes. And it's supposedly also supposed to affect your teammates as well. Although I'm not sure if it's simply that they need to be close to you. It doesn't actually tell you in detail on the main screen or anything like that. But the classes are just feels like they're doing it to appease the players who play those class style shooters and everything. And I miss the ability to really customize a lot of stuff in terms of just making the character that you want, essentially. Because like in this game, you don't even have access to things like grenades or anything like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure SplitGate 1, everyone at least had just simply one grenade. I don't need a grenade fest or anything, but there were other items that were just simply across the board everyone had. But in this game, not so much. So it really is just simply your two weapons, your pickup stuff, which I love the pickup stuff. Keep that up all day long. But that's about it. Again, you get your one gadget based on your class, but there's nothing else. And again, if this is an alpha and they're going to add all that stuff in for a beta and eventually the final game release, okay, totally fine. I get it. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of the classes per se, is what I'm going to get at. So then the final thing I want to talk about just simply is my overall thoughts and opinions, kind of get my last little thoughts and words out here. But one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the video was that I felt like this game was following another game and history was simply repeating itself. And while it's not repeating it to a one-to-one value or anything like that, this is reminding me so much of Multiverse. Yes, that Smash Arena-like fighter game from WB, where they released the game. It was in the beta, essentially, where you could actually like buy things and purchase stuff, whether it's the battle pass, the characters, or anything. And then they took the game away, worked on it a bunch, and then re-released it with almost like no marketing, essentially. And now we've actually found out that that game is getting shut down. WB obviously has a ton of other problems and everything. That could be another video unto itself, which I think we already have. Check it out in the playlist if you want. But SplitGate 2 is kind of doing the same thing. SplitGate 1 was released as a beta. It was doing decently. Unfortunately, definitely had some issues with it and everything like that, which I totally understand. And then the developers, granted, I know their backstory about when they were still in college, when they originally made SplitGate and everything, and then they wanted to take what they earned from SplitGate to make another game and everything. But now it's been turned out to simply be SplitGate 2 with more generic stuff in terms of like its classes and not what made the original unique or anything. And yes, I know when I say unique, I'm not saying like, oh my God, it had every new original idea and everything like that. No, I get it. It was basically, again, Halo meets Portals. But regardless, there's something about playing the original SplitGate and then coming into this game, and while I did have fun in some parts of it and everything, I just get the feeling that when it releases, whenever this game officially releases, it's unfortunately going to go down that same rabbit hole that Multiverses did, and I don't want it to. But with the current competition that's out there and how a lot of players are looking at this, I mean, if you look at the Steam numbers alone for the alpha, granted it did come out during Monster Hunter's weekend, which is definitely not a good move. It only had about 2,000 to 5,000 players on Steam. And yes, this is obviously on other consoles and everything. I get that. There's something in the back of my head that's just kind of making me scratch and go, why do I get the feeling that this game will release and then like 4 months later, the team's gonna like get put down into a skeleton-sized crew and the game's not gonna receive anything else after like 2 or 3 months or something like that. I don't know why, and I don't want it to, but I get the feeling it's going to. I'm not sure how or why, but I'm really nervous about that. So I really hope I'm wrong and it doesn't follow the same path that Multiverses did or anything. But I'm worried about this game. From the map layouts that definitely need some work. I really hope they bring over the maps from the SplitGate 1. You know, to the good movement, like I talked beforehand, and the gunplay. It's just, there's good and there's bad. And as of right now, I'd say it's 60 bad, 40 good right now. At least if I had to put a number on it, gun to my head, right? Hopefully this can improve. Again, it's an alpha. I don't know when the beta is going to happen, and I don't know when the game's going to release. I don't know if they're going to do a second alpha or anything. We'll have to wait and see. The game runs really well, so that gets a plus in my book. But I want this game to do well, and I really hope it does. But I get the feeling it might be following some other games, if you catch my drift. But now I want to turn it over to you guys. What are your personal thoughts when it comes to SplitGate 2? Have you even heard of this game? Did you even try out the alpha? Are you going to be trying out the beta or anything? Do you think it looks fun? I mean, it's free to play, so you have no excuse to not at least download it and try it out. And it's even on last-gen consoles, so definitely try it out if you possibly can. With all that being said, though, I want to leave it here. Leave your comments down below as always, and if you enjoy these type of discussions, then maybe consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. And if you want to catch us live every weekend, then make sure to follow us and hit that notification bell. And, you know, maybe we'll talk about that. Come in, talk about any games, whether it's SplitGate 2, Monster Hunter, any kind of game coming up this year, past games, future games, you name it. Let us know and come chat with us. With that being said, I've been Talon with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I hope you have a great day and a great week. I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Johnny.